Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast, where, as ever, I'm back and I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi, guys.
Hello, mate.
So I'm back. We're back. Arsenal are back.
Hey.
Now, before we go any further, however, I've had an odd experience because I only listened to the two podcasts that you guys put out in my absence yesterday and today. So it's quite funny listening to them after the event, after the fact. I'm a little bit concerned about how I was ridiculed and mocked for predicting a 4-1 scoreline in the Forest game. And Steph, I do appreciate that you did at least acknowledge that I might have also predicted 4-1 for the Sporting game. I also appreciate that you delivered that little line with kind of doused in oodles of irony and sarcasm. But let me read something out to you. And this is for you, Steph. And Chris, I'm going to apologise to you for leaving you in the company of Mr. Pessimist here.
Realist, I thought. Realist.
No, exactly. Well, this is where I'm going. I want no. I'm going to read something out to you, Steph, now, and you tell me which definition best sums you up. Pessimist definition: tending to see the world, the worst aspects of things, or believe the worst will happen. That's pessimist, right? I state that is you, right? Now, I'm going to read the realist definition. Someone who recognises and accepts the true nature of the situation and tries to deal with it in a practical way. Now, we're not following a Southampton or an Ipswich. We are supporters of one of all the pre-season favourites for the league. We know who we are. We know the true situation. So when you predict a 1-1 draw at home to Forest, Nottingham Forest, who were hammered by Newcastle, who are crapping themselves, the previous game, 4-1 at the City Ground, and you go 1-1, give your head a wobble. Now, Chris, you're not, so you're definitely a pessimist, Chris, Steph. But Chris, I feel bad because you obviously were infected by this pessimism and you predicted we would lose against Sporting Lisbon. A team, granted, who have been doing well in the Portuguese league.
I mean,
they thrashed City
well.
as well.
Who hasn't?
Oh, it's all good, Mr. Hindsight, isn't it?
No, see, I knew you'd say that. I predicted 4-1 Forest.
You've got another definition now. Captain Hindsight.
I backed my team. Steph, you need to start doing the same. Your negativity is dragging me down. Well, it's already dragged Chris down.
You wait till we start talking about West Ham on Saturday then.
What? You cannot. I mean, we'll get on to West Ham. But we did beat them 6-0 last season.
Last season has got no relevance.
And our team is better this season. We've evolved from last season.
Okay. I think we just come up, for me anyway, my mitigating sort of factor, Your Honour.
Your mitigating factor is Steph.
I think just coming off the back of a really tricky run. And that's kind of how I felt. You know, I'm still bruised. I'm getting better. I'm getting a lot better. But
sorry, hang on. After the Forest performance and result, you predicted we would lose against Sporting. Yeah. That's not getting better.
I just saw that as a challenge, far greater challenge than the Forest. And I was wrong, gladly.
And you said Forest would be a narrow, squeaky bum 2-1 victory.
I did, yeah.
And just as a little retort or response to the Captain Hindsight dig, when asked how I felt the next 7 games would go, you read out, we will win. We need to win all 7. We will win all 7. I was very confident then, and I'm confident now, even more confident now, that that's what we will do. We will win all our remaining games until the end of this calendar year. But we'll get on to that. We'll go on to that in a minute. So, look, we did have our performance of the season away at Sporting. I mean, our away record in Europe hasn't been fantastic up until this point, but it was a pretty comprehensive comfortable. Like we raced into a 3-0 lead. We conceded a goal straight after half time, but we kept our heads. We kept doing what we were doing, and we scored a fourth and a fifth. Actually, quite important to see where we kind of were sitting in seventh in that table of 9,000 or whatever it is. And it's starting to make sense to me now with 3 games to go. I mean, our remaining fixtures are Monaco this side of Christmas at home, then Zagreb on the 22nd of January and Girona away on the 29th of January. Now, Steph, obviously you'll predict us to lose 1 and draw 2 of those games, obviously, but we should actually win all 3, and that would guarantee us in the top 8, definitely. Goal difference, as you can see now, I think there's about 7 or 8 teams all on 10 points, and we're, I think, a third of those because of our goal difference, because of that game against Sporting. But it's so important that we finish in the top 8, because it gives us that bye over the next qualifying round, so we have 2 fewer games than other. But also look at some of the teams in that midsection now:
Yeah.
Real Madrid, PSG, Juventus, Bayern Munich, AC Milan. Now that's not to say they'll all end up there in 3 games' time, but I tell you what, that would be. I don't care how poorly Madrid are playing or PSG are playing. I don't want to be playing them in a home and away knockout round. So we did apparently, according to Opta, we've got a 69.6% chance now of finishing in the top 8 based on the teams we've still yet to play. They're not based it on how we've done. It's just that with the points we've got and the team, the kind of, I think Monaco are Monaco still in the top 8? They might be, or they might have dropped out. I don't know. But them at home, the other 2 teams are kind of quite lowly by comparison. All that said, I didn't actually see the game. I've seen the goals. You two watched the game. So, Steph, like, what was it? What was the performance like, and what was the energy like, and how did it build on what we did against Forest? And Gyökeres, obviously the in form, the striker who's not literally on fire, metaphorically on fire. How did we manage him, and so on? And just a thing on. Gabriel went off in the 84th minute. What was that about?
Okay, right. So a lot to unpick there. First of all, overall performance was absolutely excellent and just really built on what we'd done, especially in the first half against Nottingham Forest. There's all of a sudden a kind of a fresh air, basically, about the team. They look lighter on their feet. They're pressing with more intensity. They're being slightly braver, on the ball, and it looks like it's slightly clicking in the last couple of games. So it's absolutely fantastic. And look, it's absolutely no secret that Odegaard coming back into the team is transformative. Yes, he's got all the individual ability in all these different ways, but it's what he allows other people to do as well. The gain in territory, because he's pressing from the front, with such intensity. Because not only has he got the silk in his moves and his passing and all those sorts of things, his work rate is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And it just gives us this great platform on which to... Well, we suffocated Forest, definitely. And I think Sporting were really taken by the way we took the game to them. There was no hesitancy. Even when we had the ball at the back, it was just absolutely brilliant. In terms of a couple of the other features sort of later in the game, Gyökeres was impressive in the sense that he was athletic, but there came a point in the game where it looked like, finesse and thoughtfulness had sort of gone by the wayside. And basically every time he got the ball, he just hit it as hard as he could. And don't get me wrong, he sort of near on, I think, 1, maybe 2 occasions. Raya did pull off a couple of good saves later on, which has kind of gone unnoticed a little bit, given the praise for all the other players that obviously did the business. But he's having a great season, is David Raya. But look, Gyökeres looked fine, but it was in a team that were overwhelmed by our performance. So he was never going to shine. He could still offer a huge amount. There was one moment where he got into a kind of foot race with one of our defenders, and you could see actually he was more than just a 6-yard box sort of poacher. He had a bit of speed about him as well, which I didn't realise. And
that was Kivior, should be noted. It was Kivior.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, so Gabriel had been replaced and he kind of took on Kivior. At the end of the day as well, his performance, look, he could be an absolutely brilliant striker, but we've got two absolutely world-class centre-backs in Gabriel and Saliba. Saliba was flawless in pretty much everything that he did. And Gabriel, I mean, there's fewer greater sights for an Arsenal fan at the moment than a corner going in and Gabriel leaping through the air and bullet headering a goal into the back of the net, just like he did against Spurs at their place.
10 out of 10 for his goal celebration as well.
Yeah, this is, and I didn't realise this, but this was apparently a callback to the fact that someone did the Xhaka celebration when they put us out of the Europa League a few seasons ago or something, but whatever. Footballers are not the most mature bunch in the world, are they? But look, sometimes our team need that motivation. We talked about a couple of years ago when after Ivan Toney did the whole, kick about with the lads thing, and we said, well, that's Arteta's team talk. Bosh, next time, what did we do? We blew them away 3-0. Fabio Vieira scored in that game, if I remember rightly. Final point, Gabriel going off. Always going to worry. I'm not sure it looked as bad as maybe we did. And what was great was, because of the nature of the game state, as it were, we basically just take him off. We were preparing to bring Sterling on, if I remember rightly. Yeah. But then we just said, no risks. Get Gabriel off. Just see how he goes. So fingers crossed. Haven't heard any more since, but fingers crossed that's just, a bit of cramp maybe.
Yeah, you won't hear anything else until the team news, teams first team's announced.
Well, exactly. As soon as we get to that stage, at whatever it is on sort of Saturday afternoon, because Arteta's press conferences now are more cryptic than a crossword.
Well, didn't someone reveal? Oh no, it was in Zinchenko's autobiography or book that he has out. That one of the reasons why Zinchenko wasn't getting minutes was put forward that it's because of certain things that he wrote in his book, and one of them was that Arteta has frequently got players who are injured to walk onto the team coach with their little kind of travel bag to make it look like they're in the team and travelling, and so just to gain any advantage at all.
Why not?
But I can't imagine Arteta would not be playing him because, well, I don't know. Maybe I could imagine he'd not be playing him because of his some of the words he's kind of or secrets he's given away. Perhaps I don't know.
Yes. Except, I think one of the most pleasing things for me, apart from the fact that we've just looked so confident and devastating against Forest and Sporting, is the way that we've used the squad and the team. The changes against Forest allowed us to then bring in Havertz and Rice against Sporting. That's genuine rotation.
And Martinelli.
And Martinelli as well. But also the use of the subs in the game, because we'd taken it to both teams, got the lead, we felt confident enough to then draw upon those players from the bench. And I have to say, actually, Zinchenko, I felt, looked quite accomplished. He wasn't called upon to make any particularly decisive decisions in a defensive capacity, but at the same time still gives you a confident footing because he can get his foot on the ball and he can control the tempo of the game and retain possession further up the pitch, taking the danger away from the goal. So I think that will be a mark. You said about going however many games it was until the end of the calendar year. I think to do that, there will have to be a little bit of those rotations as well, because especially defensively, we probably don't have quite the depth as to elsewhere on the pitch. We're going to get onto our team talk for team selection for West Ham later. Well, actually, there's probably a combination of 2 or 3 midfielders that you could change and not really feel like you're weakening the team too much at the minute. Same probably with just maybe 1 or 2 on the front line, on that left side maybe. But ultimately, in defence, that back four is what it is for now, from a starting point of view. So the more Kivior and Zinchenko can come on and help out, like just like they did against Sporting, then, the better that will do us in the long run.
Yes, I agree. Chris, what did you make of the Sporting performance result?
I would just add to what Steph said about, particularly with Ødegaard being this kind of catalyst for a lot of this turn in form. It's infectious in a good way, it's that kind of virtuous circle effect that very often when we're not playing with form, we're kind of inhibited and, I better not make that run because I'll leave a gap and someone might not cover me. And, you get, even at the crappy levels that I played in Sunday League, when you're not in form, you tend not to run out of position, you stay static, and that's kind of where we were at for, Bournemouth, Newcastle. There wasn't a lot of that dynamism and movement. They were all over the place against Sporting, the interchanging, the movement, the patterns. Partey came over to the right at one point. I think, what's he doing over there? He was like hugging the touchline, running along, coming back inside because someone was covering him. It was just this kind of fluidity, knowing where each other were going to go, having the confidence to make those runs because they were confident that their teammates would be covering them and making the right runs. So for that reason, I'm just, stepping back and seeing this as a kind of trend of form. I was just delighted.
I tell you what I've noticed from the distance with these two games. Think back to what was kind of fundamental to our big run from January to May last year. And it was quick starts. Get the goals in early. And we've done that in these two games. And I wonder, was there a secret trip off to Dubai in the international break that nobody's got wind of yet?
Maybe it was Derby, not
Dubai.
Dubai. just some sun tanning salon in Derby.
There were rumours that they'd basically changed the training ground to look like Dubai. To try and trick the players into thinking they were having
like
a warm weather
palm
break.
trees.
Turn the heating right
up. Chris, who was your man of the match for the Sporting game, would you say? Can you narrow it down to one player?
Saka.
You can.
Yeah.
Steph, just one name, no explanation. Who would have been your man of the match?
The first one that jumped into my head was Partey.
Okay. I just want to follow this up because I've read a lot of reports about the game and kind of thought pieces after the game and so on. So let me just ask you, I'll put you on the spot, Chris, first. Everyone's fit. Who's our first choice right back?
Well, it's a lovely problem to have, isn't it? I think White, for the fact that he has a more developed relationship with Saka and Ødegaard, but I'm really liking what Timber's doing and that he's developing his own relationship with them.
Is he a better fullback than White?
I think he's got a different style. He's got a lower centre of gravity. He won't get turned as quickly as White. White is more about positioning and anticipation. Timber has got a tigerish kind of ability to get kind of tight, and it's a really tough one. I'm leaning towards Timber at the moment as a defender. White is, I think, better going forward, simply, as I said, because he's got a better relationship built.
Hasn't Timber started to pick up a couple of assists now?
Yeah, but he is developing. He is developing, but it can't be as good as White's. There's this sort of telepathy between White, Saka and Ødegaard, but it's coming.
Steph, same question.
I literally do not want to get into this debate because I think our mentality absolutely has to change. The fact that we're going to have 2 or 3 players for each position, it's going to be 2, isn't it? Okay. But those players themselves could have 2 or 3 positions is the mindset we need to get into. That proper rotation, the idea that the drop-off is negligible, if not even there. Mm-hmm. Timber and White are both excellent fullbacks. White is also an excellent centre-back. Timber is also an excellent left-back. And by all accounts can also play in that kind of holding midfield role. And White has done that as well. I think he did it for Brighton, possibly even Leeds. Yeah, Leeds.
Yeah,
there you go.
For Leeds, yeah.
So there's an element of, for me personally, I like White's flat out speed.
Okay. So we're playing at Anfield later on in the season, fully fit squad. Who do you want playing right back?
Well, so then you've got to balance up, who's their attack
Diaz.
On the left side? It's
Luis
Diaz, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Diaz. Right, I probably want...
But it's at right back, though. I'm not saying you don't have an option to play White at right back and Timber at left back against Salah. I'm asking you just about the right back slot.
No, that's fine. I mean, Diaz is tricky, can handle himself, in my mind, tends to kind of cut inside and do that sort of thing as well. Look, White can handle him, but I think if it's Liverpool in the form they're in at the moment, okay, you've got to give them the ultimate respect, and I'm probably going to go with Timber. But look, if White's there, I don't care. It's both great.
I mean, with White and Tomiyasu, who knows when Tomiyasu's coming back? But White's definitely out for a few months, so we won't see him till like February, perhaps, March time. We are very reliant on two already injury susceptible players in Timber and Calafiori. And we'll see when we come to, we'll see just how much rotation Arteta is prepared to do, say, starting with Saturday, I guess. Who plays right back if Timber doesn't? It's Partey, isn't it?
Yeah.
It probably would be, because he's probably not ready to put in Miles Skelly, although he looks fairly accomplished to me.
Isn't he a left back?
Yeah, he's tended to play on the left when he's played there at all, yeah.
He can play on the right though, can't he? I mean,
yeah, why not?
Insofar as...
Stick him in goal.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't play Nigel Winterburn at right back.
No. Yeah, but his right leg was for standing on only.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on... Okay, maybe we acknowledge the Man City...
Oh, please.
Not the run continuing, because they did stop the rot. But, I mean, Guardiola after that game was just, bizarre. Slightly concerning as well. I mean, I'm not sure whether he was trying to deflect attention away from his team and decided to scratch himself up as a way of doing that. I don't know, but just bizarre, odd behaviour. If you saw your mate doing that, you'd check in on him a few times. You'd be worried about his mental health at that state. Yes,
except I've always felt that there's this thing, and I'm not belittling it or undermining it in any way, but that he has had this very sort of obsessive nature about him. And look, he's an absolute genius in terms of, what he's done to football and, the leadership he's done and right at the top of the sport as well. But it also comes with this weird fixation that he has and this kind of behaviour, if you put it all of a sudden in a slightly different context, looks weird. But obviously football is this weird little universe that they're in. All the histrionic stuff of calling out players on the pitch and, kicking chairs.
The chairs thing was never really made a big thing of. It was just, he's showing his frustration. Imagine if that was Arteta.
Well, this is the thing. There's also a slight double standard with these things. And perhaps because Guardiola's been such a relentless winner that it's never really come to that level of scrutiny, whereas Arteta's come at it from a kind of
he's earned the right to kick chairs.
Well, I'm not
scratch his own head and nose up.
I mean, I was listening to a Totally Football podcast actually not long before we came on, and someone was saying about the thing, why do you scratch your head? Because you don't really know what to do. And there's a kind of frustration.
There's scratching and there's scratching those things.
Well, there is, and I totally agree that there's something a bit gone beyond with this as well. But it is probably the first time in a long time as Man City manager, he doesn't really know what to do. And so how it's manifesting itself in these strange ways.
I mean, mental health issues aside, long may it continue.
Well, yeah. I mean, their injury woes are going to continue.
Footballistically. Having said that, they are travelling. No, they are. Yeah, they're travelling to Anfield on Sunday, and Liverpool have Newcastle away. I think after that, and if we were looking at Liverpool's fixture list, kind of increasing in jeopardy or difficulty, then they're two fixtures that you'd be looking for them to drop points in. And we travel to West Ham and host Man United in the same set of games. Do we? We'll get onto our game in a minute, but just quickly, Chris, would you give me your ideal preferred score on Sunday, result on Sunday for the Liverpool City game?
A draw. As we've said many times, City, we still have to use them as the benchmark, however well Liverpool are doing. And I think draws are killers when you're chasing, when you're in a title race, basically. And it would suit us better, absolutely.
Steph?
Yeah, echoing what Chris said, it probably is a draw at this current moment. I mean, I'd love for them both to lose in some kind of weird technicality, but it's not going to happen. And we have to remember that we were X amount of games gone and 8 points ahead of City and still lost the league. So with so many games to go, you know, it's all well and good saying, well, we want City to win because Liverpool are so far ahead. But actually, all of a sudden that could turn City's form on a sixpence and then they go on a run. There's a lot of time to go. Look, they both drop points, draw. That's the ideal one.
Yeah, I mean, the result I don't want is I don't want a Liverpool win.
No one wants that.
Yeah, I get it.
So I take a draw, absolutely. Preferred result, draw. Both teams drop points. We do our job on the Saturday.
Few suspensions.
Red cards.
Couple of injuries. Nothing serious. I don't want anyone any harm.
No, just like
twang
4
a little
months,
hamstring
4
or a calf
months,
muscle or something.
fine.
Guardiola runs onto the pitch and scratches all the Liverpool players.
So itchy.
So itchy.
Okay, to restore order to the madhouse, let's leave it there. Have a little break, and when we come back, we'll talk.
Sorry. Before we break, I just wanted to give props to the Arsenal away fans in Lisbon. I know we said this would be a short one, but they were so loud on the TV. They kept chanting because they had fireworks set off in front of them. So then when we started battering Sporting, they were saying, "We want our fireworks." And I've never seen so many pictures of Superbock lager on my Twitter and Blue Sky and Threads feeds as well. It sounded like everyone had a whale of a time, and the away fans did us proud. I wasn't jealous at all, honestly.
Much. There was one chant. It was who put the ball in the Sporting net.
Half the
team did.
And when did we first sing that last season?
West Ham.
Segue.
Yes. Right. Okay. Now we'll have a little break, and when we come back, we'll look forward, not ahead. We'll look forward to the West Ham game. Well, at least I will anyway. See you in a bit.
So forward.
Welcome back to part 2, and we are looking forward to West Ham Arsenal Saturday 5:30 kickoff. A few little kind of stats. Oh no! Before we, I've got two quizzes. Right?
Oh God!
There's the standard one, and then I was just curious. The first one, this next one, you've got to answer now, and then I'll give you the standard one again. Yep. Whatever. But anyway, we won 6-0 at the London Stadium last season. Can you name our scorers?
Oh Christ! Well, Rice.
5 different scorers.
Rice, Havertz,
Gabriel.
Rice scored in the 65th minute. Gabriel scored in the 44th minute. Havertz did not score.
Saka.
Scored 2.
Did Odegaard score?
No. So you've got 2 to get.
Trossard.
He did score in the 2nd minute of stoppage time at the end of the first half. And you've missed in the first goal scorer. Who opened the scoring?
Martinelli.
No.
Ben White.
Nope.
Thomas Partey.
Nope.
Zinchenko.
Nope.
Tomiyasu.
Nope.
Kivior.
Nope.
Oh, for God's sake. David Raya. Oh, you weren't even Arsenal player then.
Party.
Well, Raya was an Arsenal player, and he was just on loan.
Party wasn't even playing.
Gabriel Jesus.
No.
No, of course it wasn't.
Yeah, no, come on.
Who's left?
Is he still with us?
Yes, very much so. For those of you listening, Steph is pointing out the team positions with his finger.
I'm imagining the formation. Saliba.
Yes.
Oh, did he score?
32nd
Both
minute.
centre backs.
Corner.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe a corner, probably a corner. I can't imagine he was up the other end of the pitch.
I think Gabriel and Saliba both scored headers from corners. Yeah,
they did. Yeah,
that rings a bell. Yeah.
Okay, so the other quiz is 31 players. This is why I'm not listing all 31. 31 players have played for both West Ham and Arsenal in the Premier League era, including my mate Henry Lansbury, which I didn't realise he'd played for West Ham, but he did. What I'm asking you guys to do is to come up with the 10 who've had the most combined appearances between the two clubs.
Right.
So they're the 10 that have played the most games for Arsenal and West Ham. Right, so there's 10.
I'm just going to be naming random names.
Okay, well, I'll leave that there with
leave
you.
that with us.
So actually, the West Ham game is our first of 9 consecutive London games. So we've got very little travel. So that's a positive. The 4th of January, we're away to Brighton, which isn't exactly that far. And then we're back in London again, and then we're away to someone else also quite close.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
think. So this is a good spell, potentially, for us. West Ham are sitting 14th. They've been pretty poor so far. Reports that,
Lopetegui.
Thank you. Is it Joseph or Joe? Is that his first name? That Joe is like within a game of the sack, you know. But the last time out, they went to Newcastle and won 2-0. And I tutor a West Ham supporter who is cock a hoop and really he's going to the game on Saturday, and he's so confident that West Ham are going to turn us over. I'm really looking forward to that. I shouldn't really get too cocky, perhaps, but actually, on a serious point, I'm glad they beat Newcastle up at Newcastle, because let them come at us in the game. Let them, be confident. I want to play against a team that's not going to sit 2 banks of 5, and just not come out. In terms of team news, obviously we got White and Tomiyasu out, and Gabriel went off in the 84th minute. Hopefully he's okay. He's fit to play. For them, the only big player missing is Kudus, which he's probably their most important player or threatening player, and he's still suspended. Chris, how are you feeling about the game? When you fancy it, give us your starting 11.
Yes. Well, I'm feeling pretty bullish, because amazing what a couple of wins can do.
And having me back.
And having you back, Captain Hindsight. So I'm gonna
That's not funny, because it's not true.
All right. So my starting 11, I sort of vacillated a little here on the midfield, particularly. Same back four with Raya. So Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. And then in midfield, I wonder whether he might go Odegaard and then put Rice in the sort of 6 and bring Marino in left 8, just because of that combative kind of ball winning. As much as I love what Partey's been doing. So yes, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to put Rice in there in the middle in 6 and bring Marino in left 8. And then, as you were up front, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli.
So no real rotation ahead of Man United on Wednesday?
No. Not in that regard, no.
I was thinking more of like as a nod to the 2 fullback positions. We have got to be a little bit cautious with Timber in particular. I think Calafiori's injuries were less. Well, I don't know. Did he just twist? He just twisted the kind of. They weren't muscular. It wasn't a muscular injury that he was just running and kind of twanged a hammy or anything like that. So because we've got Zinchenko and Kivior as possibles.
But as you said, if we get in a comfortable lead as we have with the last couple of games and we're able to bring people off on the sort of 65, 70 mark, that's kind of what you want, in that they've been managed really well. We've gotten ourselves into positions where we can rest them. And I do think that's what he'll go with. I think he'll go strong.
Steph?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch all of the West Ham Newcastle game on the Monday, but I was surprised. West Ham weren't as low block, defensive, part the bus as I was perhaps led to believe from the kind of narrative around them. But at the same time, there wasn't a huge amount different from the stuff I'd sort of seen before. Thomas Souček was still a handful in midfield with his large frame, and Mikel Antonio was still relentless in his running and his effort up front. Jared Bowen always carries a sort of threat, so I think it'll be a similar game or similar expectation for what they can sort of bring to us, that's what informed my team selection. I knew Forest would sit deep and try and hit on the counter, and were quite disappointing in the way they sort of went about that. With West Ham, I don't really know, so I toyed with a similar Nottingham Forest team, but actually I think he'll go just that little bit stronger. At the end of the day, regardless of where West Ham are and their current sort of form, albeit having just picked up a good away win at Newcastle, by the way, something we couldn't do, it's still a London derby away from home. So I think it's about going strong to start with and trying to get that foothold in the game. And even with a few players that are left out, there are people that can come on and do things. So I've again gone quite strong and traditional for this one. Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. Midfield three, I've gone slightly different. I've gone Odegaard, Partey and Rice. I think he'll want Partey's slightly more dynamism, and he'll just want to get Rice in there. Rice against West Ham, he'll still have a point to prove, even though he shouldn't. And Saka, Havertz, Martinelli up front. Trossard again, goal from the bench against Sporting. So Gabriel Jesus, while he looked lively against Forest, because we knew we would have that territory and therefore more touches in the penalty box, it suited his game a little more. And even then, still, one shot wide, some helpful stuff in the build-up. It wasn't a performance to demand a starting place. So I've gone with that team.
You can imagine they'll be quite fired up because they were humiliated by us last
100%.
season.
100%. And you've got to factor that in.
It's just whether they're good enough to do anything with that.
It's all good and good, isn't it?
I've gone for the same team as you, Steph.
Right.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really strong team and it's a really strong bench. It's
well,
a dangerous
Marino,
bench.
Trossard, Gabriel Jesus, potentially someone like Sterling in the background.
Nwaneri,
we've not even mentioned. Exactly.
Can I just say something else I learned today was that Ethan Nwaneri's younger brother, Emerson Nwaneri, is at the Arsenal playing for the under 15 team, and he's been invited to an England setup. I don't know whether is it St George's or something. So 2 Nwaneris.
There's only 2 Nwaneris. 2 Nwaneris. Yep, can't wait to sing that. When they're both starting for Arsenal.
Chris. I'm saving Steph.
Why?
Score, Chris.
West Ham United 1, Arsenal 3.
Okay. Steph, or shall I go first?
It's up to you.
No, you're going off, you go.
I've changed mine because...
We're now losing.
When very quickly prepping for the pod, having had a late night at school at parents' evening, I initially just put 2-2 down. And the reason I did that, and I've checked myself since, I put that down because I was just playing a role, and I know that. 2-1, Arsenal.
Okay. What score do you think I've gone for?
4-1.
Yep, 4-1.
Because, like when I'm predicting we'll lose just because we're in a run of winning and I don't want to change things, you're now predicting 4-1 and we keep winning.
That's not... I can never predict us to win a game to 0 for some reason. I look at the opposition team. There's always one player there who I think can cause us problems. Like Jared Bowen would be that player. Kudus would be that player if he was available, but Jared Bowen certainly. Even though their 2 goal scorers against Newcastle were Wan-Bissaka and Souček, weren't they? So, goals from other places. But,
how rare is that?
Yeah, so I just think, look, we're a far, far superior team. And we're on form. We've got momentum, that lovely, unmeasurable or intangible. Intangible. Anyway, intangible. Thank you, sir. And we've got it, and we're playing. It's like we're playing like we did in January last season, and how brilliant that this has started earlier this season. Now, we've got a bit of ground to make up on Liverpool, not City. I do think Liverpool will I love Le Grove on social media. He is really hammering the drum that don't get fooled by Liverpool's form. They're going to fall away. That this is the team that chucked a lead of however many points over us last season with far fewer games to go and just capitulate. The further they go into all these tournaments, their squad is going to... It's the same squad. Who did they buy in the summer?
They got Chiesa in from Juventus.
Oh, yeah, but
he's not even playing.
No, he's in... No, there's some... Anyway, so they have... And they've got these players... I mean, okay, we could look at Thomas Partey and say, he's having a fantastic season, probably because he's in the last year of his contract, so he's playing for a big move away. And they're in a position where they've got 3 of their key players, Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah. I mean, that Mo Salah's his numbers. I mean, quite interestingly, he came out in his post-match and had a real dig at the club. They've not offered me a contract. I think he wants 3 years. They offered 2 years, but he's said they've put no contract offer on the table. But then it's not bothering him apparently. But I don't know. It's they can talk to other clubs from January. It might be unsettling. I don't know. Injuries might start to factor for them. I don't know. I don't want them to keep winning. I'd like them to drop a few points to give us a sense that it might go tits up for them. I don't know.
And look, I'd be shouting it from the rooftops if we beat Real Madrid at home. But having watched that game last night, I found Real Madrid quite underwhelming, if I'm honest.
Well, they're not having a good time, are they,
No.
at the moment? So,
and Liverpool were great. There was a moment, it keeps doing the rounds, where Conor Bradley, their fullback, made that tackle on Mbappe. Brilliant tackle. Again, but it seemed to also then spur Liverpool on, and they were very good from that moment. And similarly, Real Madrid were kind of kowtowed a little bit by it.
I can just say that Conor Bradley learned that move playing Gaelic football in Ireland, something I have also done and can attest to its brutal physicality, violence on the pitch, where I know people who only watch Gaelic football for the fighting. I also know people who only play Gaelic football for the fighting as well. But anyway, that wasn't me. I'm too small and diminutive and soft for that. Anything else to say about Saturday? Steph, are you going?
I'm not going. I'm actually going to a gig at Alexandra Palace to see Idols. But with the doors opening later, I think I'm going to go to Finsbury Park, watch it in one of the pubs there.
Oh, fantastic.
And then we'll just chip over for the gig, yeah.
I got excited, Steph, because I thought we might be able to do a Reacto pod.
No Reacto pod. I dread to think what time I will be getting back.
Well, I'll be asleep before you get back.
So, and look, if you want a Reacto pod without me, go for it.
React away.
Yes.
I'm assuming, Chris, you're not going.
No, I'll be watching here.
Chris, I was reassured. Everything's right in the world when you're late to meet us in the stadium, as I realised. I believe you were also against Forest, blaming the kids as usual.
There wasn't even a chance of us.
I was blaming the roadworks. I wasn't blaming the kids. I was blaming the roadworks. It's a very British thing to do, isn't it? It's either the weather or roadworks. So yeah.
Come on, 10 players who've played the most games.
I forgot.
Fabianski is actually number 4. He's played 252 times, 46 for us, 206 times for West Ham.
Declan Rice.
I've put a lot of work into this, as you can tell. Declan Rice is the second highest, 66 for us, 247 for them, 313 in total.
I've got a good one.
Go on.
John Hartson.
Oh, I had John Hartson as well.
He has just snuck in 10th place with 115 combined appearances, 55 for us, 60 for
Ginger.
West Ham.
Ian Wright.
Come on, surely.
Oh, yes, of course. He's number 6, 217 appearances, 195 for us, 22 for them.
Nigel Winterburn.
He's number 1.
I forgot about Winterburn.
373 combined appearances, 293 for us. I think that says 82, my handwriting, for West Ham.
I'm going to go Yossi Benayoun.
No.
I'm going to go Samir Nasri.
He's there somewhere. Yeah, he's joint 10th with Hartson, actually, on 115 combined. 109 for us, 6 for them. So well remembered that.
Jack Wilshere?
Yeah, Jack's there. He's on. He's the 7th most caps appearances between the two clubs. 189, I think that is. 169 for us, 20 for them.
I feel like I'm missing a defender.
You're missing a goalkeeper, which is the one that's the big clue. Well, it's a clue, but I didn't have any.
Manuel Almunia.
Yeah, Almunia, yeah. He played 4 times for West Ham and 141 times for us. So he's the 8th highest. So you're missing a defender, a midfielder, and an attacking midfielder.
Matthew Upson.
No.
He definitely did play.
So you're missing the second.
Lewis Boamorti.
No, he was close. Oh, he's 112. He didn't quite make the cut. I wrote him down. I thought he might make the cut, but he didn't. He's 3 fewer than Hartson.
Not Lundberg.
Yeah, Freddie.
Lundberg.
Yeah. 288 times for us, 25 for them.
That has gone from my memory.
Yep. And so you're left with now a slightly more defensive midfielder, and then you've got a legendary defender. Now, he's legendary not because of how much he won for us, but because he played out each of our childhood dreams. And there's a very embarrassing photograph of him lying on his bed. Yeah, Carl Jenkinson. ninth top, 124, 66 for us. I don't know what that is, 58 for them, something like that. And the last player then, I remember this guy more so because he played the ball for Henry to score that goal against Leeds when he returns to the Emirates.
Oh, it's your man that went to Barca.
It is the man that
Alex
went to
Song.
Barca.
Thank you.
He's the 5th top, 173 for us, 46 for them.
God, dear.
The only other football-related thing that I wanted to touch on is it's a referee-related thing, but it's David Coote again. And there's an investigation into alleged bungs for bookings. This is the most serious of them all for me, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Yep.
Because, okay, so he slagged off Klopp and, but we can all appreciate the human side of that. They're not robots. They're going to have favourites and players and managers and clubs that rub them up the wrong way. That's just natural. Just don't let yourself get recorded on camera expressing those views. The second one then was like organising some kind of drug party at half time in some other game. And I mean, that's unprofessional. That's not great. And it doesn't paint him in a particularly positive light. But this one, where there's a message that I don't know what the game is. It was a West Brom or something? I can't remember what the game was that was listed. Where he books a player in the first half, and one of his text messages after the game is to a mate saying, "I hope you place the bet as planned." Rebooking or something like that. It was like, if it's true. He's denied it. He said that it just hasn't happened. But then he also denied that was him in the video. And then, but if it's true, then this does. I mean, there was no coming back for him anyway. But it lays it open that any decision a referee makes that's slightly controversial, it's like question mark. So we can laugh at the other two, perhaps. Not laugh like silly boy, but this one throws a much darker shadow, casts a much darker shadow over everything that the referees do. And are we being naive to think that this doesn't happen? These guys are paid quite well, but they're not paid anything like the players they're refereeing and managing game to game. I don't know. Has you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, only headlines. Hadn't really read into it too much, and I think there's probably more to come out. And a lot of people were questioning the timing of the release of these videos and how one came out and then another. So the fact that there's potential for things like blackmail probably involved in the background is also makes some of the events and how they've unfolded explicable. But as to the finer details and. Yeah, I think there's an element of football, and I've read about this in terms of doping as well. Like the sheer volume of players that are involved in football, it's unbelievable the amount of low numbers that end up getting, testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. So something like that going underneath, the potential for corruption is clearly there, and the sad thing is that some of the powers that be, have shown themselves to be not necessarily capable of dealing with those things. So who knows where this goes? And in the meantime, let's just hope it's another game at the weekend that, the referee doesn't have too much of a say in, and we let the football do the talking.
I haven't looked to see who our referee is.
I don't bother anymore.
It doesn't make a difference.
No, I don't care.
Right, okay, so thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the next couple of days, and we'll reconvene as everyone's gathered around the screens on Saturday as we tweet our way through another comfortable 4-1 win. And enjoy your gig on Saturday, and we'll do a post West Ham pod on Sunday at some point, I'm sure. So listen out for that. All right, cheers, gents. Thank you very much for listening. Cheerio.
Bye.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.
Sort of itchy.
So itchy. Oh, I'm loving that. So itchy.
There's your episode title.
So itchy.